Thanks so much, Emma. Well, as you know, we came down to Capitol Hill to really talk about tax reform, but it turns out we're going to have to talk a little bit about what President Trump did or did not say about the Flynn investigation to the then FBI director, and also whether the president may have disclosed what had been classified information to Foreign Minister Lavrov of Russia. We're joined now by Mike Quigley. He is a Democratic congressman from the state of Illinois, and he is on the Intelligence Committee as well as Appropriations. I understand it that Mike Pompeo from the CIA testified before you last night. Welcome to the program. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm not going to ask you to reveal any classified information. So there's been enough of that. But tell us, after having come away from this hearing just last night with the director of the CIA, are you confident that you know what has happened and it was not happened with respect to classified information in the U.S. government?
I always think I do, and then the next day I get flashes on my phone that something amazing happened like the last week. At least shocking revelations about what's taken place. I think it's important for the public to understand, since its inception, the Trump White House has tried to interfere with this investigation. Right? I think they played a role in canceling a public hearing. The allegations of wiretapping at Trump Tower, encouraging, I believe, the Nunez midnight excursion to the White House, and just so many more examples. But the last week, where there are veiled threats to Mr. Comey about what was taped or not taped, obviously the firing of Mr. Comey, and then now the far more serious allegation that that he was encouraged by the President of the United States to drop this investigation of General Flynn. You know, that's not just interfering; that's obstruction of justice.
President Trump was not elected to deal with scandals like this, and I'm sure it's not what he wants to do either. For you to get to the work of the Congress, what do you need to do to get this behind you so we know what really happened and we can decide?
Yeah, I think first the White House should start cooperating, send its resources and tell its people in the campaign, and on the official side, work with these folks. Tell them exactly what took place. Hire an independent prosecutor, and at the same time, give us the resources we need to go forward with this investigation. It's also important to know that Director Comey had asked for additional resources just to do the Russian investigation. But this is getting confusing, especially, I suspect, for the American public, because while I'm investigating the most important issue in my mind involving the White House since Watergate, we're now seemingly in need of an investigation of the investigation.
So there have been Democrats, any number of Democrats, who have been calling for a special counsel now for some time. As a practical matter, what will cause that counsel to be appointed?
I would have assumed the firing of Director Comey. I would have assumed that yesterday probably broke the back of the resistance against this, with the American public's pressure, particularly with moderate Republicans, recognizing that they can't trust this White House on this investigation. I don't know what it would take after yesterday's revelations.
Have you gotten any sense of whether Mr. Rosenstein, who appears to be the person who would have to appoint this at this point because the Attorney General has recused himself, have you gotten any sense whether he's moving in that direction?
We haven't talked to him. I'm very curious. I'd like to have him before the Intelligence Committee to discuss this matter. It's disturbing that he and Mr. Sessions played a role in talking to the president about firing Director Comey. So honestly, at this point, I'm not sure who to trust.
So what is the role that your committee, the Intelligence Committee, can play to really move this forward, get it resolved?
I think rescheduling these open hearings, the closed hearings, we continue to review the documents that are available to us and bring the witnesses forward. We now have an agreed upon witness list, and this just back to the Russian investigation. I think we have the momentum to reboot and go forward. Unfortunately, and very disturbingly, these new revelations this week make all that so much more complicated. It clouds the matter, it slows it, it drains resources, and probably more important, attention away from it.
So who will get this engineered? Is it the Republican leadership on the House and the Senate side? I mean, who are the people, name the names, who will really lay out the way to resolve this?
If we're talking about a special prosecutor, if we're talking about investigating the Trump's White House obstruction with this, it is people like Jason Chaffetz, who I heard yesterday and today has talked about having subpoenas of the memos, the notes, and tapes, if they exist, of the discussions between Director Comey and the White House. We don't have the votes on the Democratic side. This clearly rests with leadership in the committee side and on the leadership side in the House and Senate on the Republicans.
Do you have a sense whether the Republicans have gotten together and have a real plan? I mean, have they agreed among themselves, the Republican caucus on either the House or the Senate side, to say this is what we need to do? For example, move forward with subpoenas for the memoranda.
Well, first, on the Russian investigation, I believe we're back on track. In terms of analyzing what's taking place with Mr. Comey, I think they're probably in the same place that most of us are. Exasperated, shocked, and a little concerned about how to go forward. Do they have a plan? Clearly not on a unified basis.
So give us a sense from your point of view. How much of your time is being consumed with this as opposed to things like appropriations, which is a pretty important committee, too?
We're clocking about 75, 80 hours a week between what I normally do as a member on appropriations and normal functions as a member of Congress. But I would say probably half of my time now on this, if you include travel. I've been to Cyprus, I've been to Kyiv on this, and there's more places to go. I'd like to clone myself and work on all of it as much as possible, but unfortunately, there just isn't enough time. This is a mammoth undertaking. When I was in Cyprus and looking at this from a money laundering point of view, I was quoting the movie Jaws. I said to myself, we're going to need a bigger boat. We need more resources. This is complicated, it's layered, it's textured.
So to wrap this all up, Congressman, what does this mean for tax reform, which is the reason originally we came down here? Does this mean it doesn't get done, it gets done later, it gets done less? No. What is it as a practical matter? What's the end game?
I think it's difficult for the Republicans to move forward on a unified basis on tax reform anyway. This is as tough a task as we have. But if you couple it with all these distractions, and I think it takes the trust out of the American public in whatever it is you're going to do, the real cost of corruption is the loss of the public's trust. Here you are talking about something very sacred, their tax dollars. Makes it far more difficult for them.
Okay. Congressman Mike Quigley, thank you so much for joining us today here at Capitol Hill. Alex, back to you.